Okay, I'm in San Diego and you're on Global TV Talk Show. We've been around doing this coming up to 3 years since we launched as a result of the pandemic crashing and burning my 30 years of doing live conferences in Europe, Latin America, Canada, US. Someday we'll do Dubai and even India. We're not sure about that, but we do have a live meeting coming up in London on May 9, and it looks like we're going to be able to get one together for Paris on May 10, and we're working on others, including Hamburg. And Hamburg, we have 2 people with us, Dr. Natalie Forrest. Everybody say hi to Natalie. Natalie, you're on mute, and please say hi.
Hi. Sorry, I had to find the right button, even though we're all used to Zoom nowadays. Sometimes it's like, where did it go? Hi, everybody.
Yeah, great. Okay, sound is good. And Matthias, also in Hamburg, you're an expert in EAP along with Dave Levine.
Right. Hi, everyone.
All right, EAP, Dave Levine, this is Employee Assistance Plans, and our general theme today is creating a culture for well-being. So we're going to discuss what that means from all these different perspectives. Dave Levine, well-being to you means what?
Being physically and mentally healthy, happy, and in relationships, importantly. EAPs have evolved over the last 30, 40 years, and I think what's important to employers most recently is culture and engagement and the organization of choice. And that focus is relatively new in the last few years, at least for EAPs. But the EAPs themselves have evolved from focusing on alcohol and drugs to family issues, to trying to keep mental health costs down, which was an era of EAP gatekeeper programs, to wellness programs and various wellness strategies. And now I think the focus is on the organization and that culture of choice. And again, importantly, it's the relationships and social. With the pandemic and the increased recognition of the importance of mental health, I think, like it was with alcohol and drug, we don't lose sight of the importance of that issue. We don't lose sight of the importance of depression and stress, but in achieving organizational cultural well-being, we need to stress the importance of relationships and getting along with one another.
All right, quickly, I want to go to Matthias in Hamburg. EAP in Europe, in Germany, is it any different from what Dave just described?
No, luckily not. I totally agree with Dave. He's totally right. And I think, let me say, always, Europe is a little bit behind America. And that means also that the most global EAP providers come to Germany to enter the German and European market. So EAP is well known in Europe, and it's increasing also.
Okay, we're quickly going to go to Rina. Rina Bhatia is now an executive with Dow Amsterdam. Rina, thank you for coming back on Global TV. And then we're going to go to Gary Sanger in LA about being an executive on the executive team looking for talent on behalf of the CEO and board. Rina, tell us, if you don't mind, very quickly in 30 seconds about your official title. You'll do a lot better than me on this.
Oh my God. Okay, so officially I am managing mobility. So not just with present organization, I have an experience of close to about like 15 years. And my forte, basically being mobility, it is connecting with the sentiments and the well-being of the employees, which is very much mattering to me. And to give that kind of an experience for the people coming across from different parts of the world, they are coming inbound as well as outbound. So everything is connected and tied together. if I say it's like a family, it's like a mental, you can say status or a mindset at the work, or it can be like even physical relocations and what all kind of, you can say the gamut of operations and gamut of, you can say mental well-being, emotional getting carried away and everything. So we have to balance everything and make an assignment happen. So there is where like I play an important role. I also deal with the psychology of the assignees who are traveling. So this has been like for 15 years. And what I believe is like well-being at workplace, if I define it, is a balanced physical and mental mindset. And that is where, which is like to be taken care of when you're dealing with people, as well as dealing with like you yourself are also supposed to be balanced that way. So then you can deal with people properly. So that's in short what I would like to say.
In short, indeed. We'll get right back to you. I want to bring in Isha. Isha, Carol, is Pronounce Me. That's the name of the business. Isha is in Oxford University area, Oxford University Innovation. Welcome again, Isha.
Thank you, Edwin. It's great to be here.
Yes, tell us a little bit about yourself before we go to Gary, so we can round out who everybody is here.
Sure. I'm the founder of Pronounce Me, and our aim is to help global professionals improve their spoken English skills and also their presentation skills at work by creating a bridge between the sounds of English and the sounds of their language. And it might be a different way to thinking about languages than that which we're used to, but really it stems from the fact that most of us are using English as a lingua franca in business and other fields these days. But English itself is not that difficult, not that easy, I should say, for speakers of other languages to master. It has a lot of sounds that don't exist in other languages. It has a particular rhythm and stress pattern, which I'm going to exaggerate a little bit now so that you have more of an idea of what I'm talking about. When you think about the rhythm of French when they're speaking very like this and going up as the end of the sentence, or Italian when they're speaking every single syllable, and you can sort of hear the difference of different rhythms that different languages have. So for a speaker of another language to speak English clearly is not that easy. And, you know, people who are speaking a lot in their field, whether if they're making presentations to international teams or they're being promoted and they have to present to clients and colleagues at different levels, you know, this is all, it's enough to do this in your first language, but to use English as a second language to do this is really quite demanding. And I think sometimes workplaces underestimate how stressful that can be for global executives, global professionals. You know, somebody used the analogy of Ginger Rogers, the dancer, doing everything Fred Astaire did backwards and in high heels. And I think it really can be like that for people using English as a second language. So in the way that we teach, we create a space for them to explore the parts of English that are not familiar to them and create a bridge to make it easier for them to speak English clearly.
Thank you. Dr. Natalie, it's all about well-being for you. That's what you do every day.
Absolutely. And I love the conversation because I want to emphasize that when we're talking about well-being, if we capitalize the B and the E, then everything comes together much more easily. It's not about well-doing. It's actually about being and taking advantage of all of the opportunities that we have, physical, mental, emotional. And so I think the breadth that has already been touched on is really important, whether it comes to stress management or making sure we learn a different language to add our knowledge to the culture where we might be serving in at a point in time, but without stress. Those are all really important aspects. And companies as well as EAPs play a huge role in making that happen and opening that spectrum up for any employee, actually.
This is great. I really thank you for doing this. Let's see, hold 1 second. Got to push a button here. Okay, so we're going to show captions here for a transcript. Okay, and I just got to make sure the buttons are working. Okay, good. All right, sorry. Oh, well, I'm being a manager. So let me tell you, This
Ed,
is
are you certified for this?
I am uncertified.
The
So
buttons here.
I have to stop talking. Gary Sanger, please take over. So Gary and I have known each other, as I said, for a couple of years. He's been on many of our programs. He is a retained executive search maven and hired by the biggest of the biggest companies to help them solve a problem internally. Gary, there are difficult people still employed by big companies because they can perform, but isn't it a problem internally, especially now? And I'm going to defer to author and coach Stephen Howard about humany and harmony in the workplace. But Gary, I know you have a time constraint. So what about dealing with difficult people? How do you get rid of them legally, safely?
Well, don't hire them in the first place. I think we sometimes get enamored with all the pedigree, all the initials behind the title, behind what big companies they worked for, and they automatically think, or we think they might be great. You know, I think as we step back, I mean, I noted 4 categories of where we're trying to find balance. We're trying to find balance for that executive coming into a company, for the team. I mean, it's not an I team, it's a we team. And I think that's really a big deal. I've seen organizations turn their org chart upside down and say, hey, we all report to the customer. Why are we in business? What are we trying to do for them? And what needs are we satisfying for the customer? I have a next category is family. I mean, you as an exec, male or female, if you don't have your affairs in order at home, oftentimes you're a bad boss. Oftentimes those things carry themselves into the workforce. So I think having that balance is a big deal. And finally, many senior execs, many top execs, they're the face of the corporation. So what they are in the community, what they are in, in the region, in the country, that's a big deal. I saw a silly little clip here a few days ago, and it showed this homeless person in a parking lot, and this lady was trying to come in and park. And this homeless person was there and, talking in such a way that he was looking for help, he was looking for a handout, etc. And this lady really berated him. Well, this was a show and tell where the homeless person was the CEO. He had dressed down to be the homeless person. And later that morning, he got dressed up and there he was in his executive office. And that lady came in saying, whoops, I think something's amiss here. Well, this CEO quickly said, look, you're just not our type. You don't fit. You don't have that humility to, you don't have to berate somebody. You don't have to put them down. Well, when you're in organizations, that lowest level or that top level, treat them with respect, treat them with professionalism. And, I think those are just ABC 4th grade lessons. I'm originally a farm boy from Idaho. So I know what hard work is all about. I know what real hard play is all about. And, as you have some common respect, don't hire a jerk. Most of those jerks don't pass some of those fundamental tests. Ed, good morning. Nice to be here.
Well, it's really a delight to have you back again, and with your clarity of thought and expression is going to make Isha really happy today, I think. So we have to move quickly here. I have to do this 1 second. I'm sorry. Being an administrator. Annalisa Landa, we've met recently and we've been on several of our programs. It's a delight to welcome you back. Please self-intro.
Thank you, Ed. It's wonderful to be back. So I'm Annalisa, as Ed said. I'm a speaker, an activist, a values evangelist, a coach and a business consultant. So my focus on well-being is taking the values approach in the workplace. And I just want to pick up on some points that Gary made there. He mentioned that word balance. So when I think of well-being in the workplace, I think of equilibrium. I think of a harmonious environment. that promotes a good energy. You feel that good energy when you step into it. And I think we can often tell happy workplaces and miserable workplaces just from the vibe that we get when we walk in. He also mentioned the importance of integrity as in leadership. Being the same person, yeah, being authentically you. Can you be a good leader and have a bad attitude? Do those two things align? Is it important? Is your private life as a leader important? Does that affect your leadership in the workplace?
Annalisa, I want to bring back in Gary. He's got a time constraint and we'll certainly continue this. Gary, it's a matter of being candid. How candid can you be in the workplace?
Well, if you don't fear for your job and you have most interest in the enterprise, in the company, I think you're 100% candid. When there's an elephant in the room and it's your out-of-date product line, it's your bad customer service, it is the quality of your products that aren't well. I've seen executives come into a new business and they get the top 20 or top 40 clients and they pass out airline tickets and they get their top folks out of the whole organization and go to the customers and see what's happening. And so how candid can you be? I think as you've got a company that's failing, or a company that needs a radical change, or you've got an executive that just absolutely is messing it all up, I believe in saying it from the heart. Data doesn't matter, right? I mean, it does matter. Data should be the facts, should be what in fact you're trying to present. So I don't think you can ever be candid enough. I think you can be respectful. Sometimes, I mean, I have a little sign here that my older daughter gave me and says, some people just need a high five in the face with a chair. Sometimes bluntness to get the point across and to get everyone to understand. A quick story. On a nonprofit, we were going down the tubes. We weren't able to think 2-3 months out that we would make payroll. It took a new board member to stand up and say, hey, I think I've made a mistake in joining you guys. And a couple of folks said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, that 4-letter word cash, C-A-S-H. If we don't get another dime in, how many more payrolls can we make? And before we left that evening, we trimmed 600,000 out of $1.8 million budget and stayed on track. And that Boys and Girls Club is still open today and thriving. So sometimes grab that chair and slam it over somebody's head, figuratively and literally, perhaps, to get everybody's attention.
I want to make sure everybody here chats with each other. Please send a message to everybody. Use the chat. The ROI is making a link. There's a speaker in Paris by the name of Christine Morlaix, and she called me about 5 years ago. She put a label on my back called Link Maker because I bring people together. So in the live meetings, I can't do that until I'm there in person, but here we can do it around the world. So I want you to just introduce yourself to Rena and to Annalisa and to Stephen and to Matthias and Tori. Talk to Natalie. Everybody exchange messages because that's the ROI from this thing. Stephen Harwood, congratulations on winning the gold medal of the Nonfiction Authors Association on your new book, Humany. Hold up the cover if you don't mind, and just show that thing, Humany. So that's a word you made up. Well, you're on mute. Push the button.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, indeed, I did make up the word. I was sitting on my balcony with a glass of red wine, watching the sun go down, and was thinking about the pandemic and you know, how we lead human beings. And I started thinking about human being leadership and other things. And then something hit me that what we lack in the world, particularly in the workplace, is harmony. And I asked a couple people, what tell me about the harmony in your workplace. They all laughed at me. They scoffed at me and said, there's no such thing as harmony in the workplace. And I said, well, sometimes there is. So anyway, I combined the words. So human, humanity, and harmony together to form humany, which is, to me, it's a mindset. It's a mindset, a personal mindset for individuals again, to create well-being and harmony in their own lives. And if you're a leader, to create workplaces of well-being and harmony.
So I want to introduce Chris Exline, who's, Chris, are you in Ukraine or are you in Madrid?
No, I was in Krakow yesterday and I arrived to Madrid today.
Okay, so you and I have known each other a long time. Many of these people are just meeting you now for the first time. Chris Exline is founder and CEO of a multinational corporation called Home Essentials, and it has to do with running furniture and home goods and things like that all over the world. He's been based in Hong Kong. He's an American, but based in Hong Kong. Yeah, a long time. And he decided to go to Ukraine and do something not only from a philanthropic point of view, but for long-term rebuilding Ukraine. Chris, you can do a lot better than me on this explanation.
I don't think so. I think you nailed it.
Well, God bless you. This guy he invested money to buy out capacity or to make a manufacturing setup in this small town in Ukraine, Western Ukraine. So he can make his mattresses there and then give them out to people in distress because of the bombings.
Here's where we are. I mean, and it's great to see so many of you again. And Ed, thank you for this phenomenal forum. I'm now pleased to reach you from home in Ukraine. I mean, home in Madrid. I'll be here I've got board meetings tomorrow and Wednesday, and then I fly back to Hong Kong to be with my partner on his birthday. But yet last Friday, I did not share a post because that was the 1-year anniversary in the small town of Kremenets where we're based. And we're now the largest employer in Kremenets. 31 people in a town of 20,000 have given their life for freedom and for an ideal. And they opened up what they call an alley of dreams, basically larger than life photos of the 31 heroes that have paid this price. And it might be, Ed, you're from New York, I'm from Chicago. We're all from big cities. We're all global citizens. It's one thing to do this in Chicago, London, Hong Kong, Madrid, wherever, New York, Los Angeles. But when you're in a small town, the little cafe where I was last time, where they have the fireplace for me, the women are concerned because I've lost too much weight and I need to be more Ukrainian. And, I need to be bulked up. That's like, well, I can't tell them, we're gay. We don't gain weight. We have to lose weight. But it's just, they love me, and but yet the real where the humor leaves is, of these 30 men, one of the 2 owners of this restaurant, she's a school teacher at the academy at this high school. 5 of them were her students. How do you do this? And Ed, you've seen my post. I mean, I was gifted a less than a week ago to talk to the school children. You can't just say, it's going to be okay. There's a plan. Everything's going to be all right. No, it's real. It's tragic and it's horrible and it's unnecessary, but yet it's the reality that we live in. And so, yeah, we're the first foreign multinational company to open up in Ukraine, where we bought out the capacity of a mattress factory. And since we don't have a retail outlet for those mattresses, we're donating them to the refugees. And yes, because of this recent offensive, we've got tens of thousands of refugees coming into Western Ukraine. and we have to find a way to produce more mattresses.
Chris, I need to interrupt just for a
Go
minute
ahead.
here. Gary Sanger has to leave. Gary, you've heard Chris talk about this before, and now you have some perspective. What do you think, with respect to what you do every day, being a retained executive search guy? There's so much integrity with what Chris Exline is doing. Do you think this is a good thing for people in corporate positions to learn more about, or do you think it's just not relevant to what's right in front of their noses?
The part about losing weight. In all seriousness, I think a comedic relief every now and then is necessary. And my goodness, you certainly can't laugh and you can't joke about people losing their lives. I saw 2020 last night, and it was the ladies, the gals, the students, the girls from Afghanistan, and this lady that had taken care of them and gotten them out of there, and they were somewhere now in Rwanda. I just think that back of the business card is so commendable, where you find a pain, you find an issue, you find a cause, and in Chris's case, did something about it rather than just talk about it. We can always get our checkbook out, but when you get your shoes out and your airline ticket and you go there and do something about it, the folks that you're helping, Chris, is just, it's amazing. It's fantastic. I think it's another level of balance and where in fact you leave your mark, where in fact you help make a difference. God bless you. That is just fantastic.
Thank you, Gary, and
Thank
have
you.
a good day. I know you got to get to a boardroom. Dr. Natalie, the well-being aspects, creating a culture for well-being, that's our thing here. And there's so many examples of that we've just heard about.
I think there's so much work, and I love what Christopher and what Gary were just saying. There's so many people right now that are stressed and that are overburdened, and we can do all we can from afar, but by Christopher going actually there, it adds a different component. And I think that's what well-being really means. It means taking care of ourselves and thereby taking care of others. And so, in the example that Christopher was just giving us, it's a little different, but it really works the way that if I don't take care of me, like he was saying, he's going to go back to be at a birthday party, right, for his partner. That's important. That is what I call me time. But too often we forget to take that me time, whether we're a CEO, whether we're somewhere, in the office, whether we're just cleaning rooms, it doesn't matter. All of those pieces are crucial in everybody's life. And if we don't take care of ourselves and get the permission, number one, from others, but also from ourselves, and that's the key, from ourselves to take me time, I call it my self-experience, where we really get to know each other again, then we have a very different come from when we experience others. And in times of crisis, it's so much easier to talk about it than do it. But, just looking at Christopher, for example, I would say, he comes across as pretty calm. So I would argue that he's pretty stable on the inside. That, of course, is a crisis situation. But think about work. When somebody comes in and they're upset, I was just talking about that with my daughter actually yesterday. We always have a chance to respond instead of react. But we need to take and we need to train ourselves for that moment where we don't just go, oh, you're having a bad day, me too. No, we say, oh, wow, you're having a bad day, I'm sorry. Very different come-froms. And I think that's what well-being needs. Taking care of yourself, getting permission to have that time and not being laughed at. And that's, again, where the EAPs come in as crucial, because they're starting to establish something like that. Or as Stephen was, of course, saying, Humany, we have to put it all together. It's no longer separate. It's one thing. We're one human being, so we have to look at it holistically. I hope that answered the question.
Everybody's got to speak here. Tori, tell me about this aspect of well-being in the workplace, well-being at home, well-being in the communities. You're a business instructor. Your students are primarily business-oriented people, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's so nice to hear what everybody has to say. I am a business instructor, but I have a background as a massage therapist and a yoga instructor. And so really what I'm hearing with regards to harmony and trying to bring this into the workplace, what I was trying to show my students is exactly what Natalie's saying is we need to train ourselves to become more self-aware of how we're reacting and how our sort of autopilot systems can just take over. And that takes a lot of work. I'm sure all of us are learning more about ourselves as we go through life. But really what we need to understand is empathy. Empathy, I think good leaders, of course, Christopher, I heard you speak in the last conversation that Ed hosted. You know, there's high demands. You guys have to get stuff done. Sometimes there's a lot on leaders' plates. But empathy is also the ability to recognize maybe this person is going through something right now. Maybe this person is having something affecting their actions at the moment. And as we live it ourselves, as we learn to use these tools ourselves, we can become better leaders and recognize, okay, maybe we need to take a step back. Maybe there's more room for me time at the moment. Maybe you need a day off to do something to fill your own cup. So I was really trying to show my students that we can live it and that there's different ways of doing things. And yeah, it ties in with hopefully what everybody else is saying, because I really like what everybody's brought so far.
Rena, your role now is sort of a culmination of the things you've been doing in the past at Deloitte and other things. Brokering talent, is that a hot thing still?
One ways we can say yes, because we deal with people coming from different mindsets, from different culture, different countries. And it's like, you can say, one way is a soup bowl. I have people of all communities, I have people of all countries, and their sentiments, and the one way they are uprooted from their home country and they are brought to a different environment altogether. So it's not that easy. It's dealing with people all the time. And at the same time, as Natalie mentioned, even I have to maintain my own balance when I'm dealing with people. I just cannot, you can say, freak out at somebody, or like, okay, I have to first of all understand a person is coming from a different country altogether, from a different culture. Not necessarily that I will be interacting in one language and I will be interacting in one sentiment, but the person will be reacting in a different way or responding to me in a different way. So setting the expectations right, maintaining a balance is like a day-to-day thing, which is always a challenge. And somewhere where I stand is myself maintaining a balance with that kind of a maturity and experience, and certainly bringing those people into that kind of a decorum. So it's been a long journey for me. I have come across a long way. I have trained myself, I have tamed myself. And one way is I'm just saying that, yes, somewhere I feel like, okay, I'm somewhere able to manage the people this way, mentally, as well as like ensuring that, okay, one more thing, what I feel is like, okay, you cannot really judge from the other side that, okay, a person is having a bad day. There is no play card like we have on our cars, baby on board. Hey, you know, I'm not feeling well today. Please do not talk to me. So we really don't have that kind of a play card. How can I judge the other side? That's my problem always. So it's always allowing. And as Tori also mentioned, okay, to empathize that I'm dealing with humans. So got to know, and it's given that I have to understand the other side and then start my conversations.
Well, thank you. They'll talk about conversations and understanding and communicating. First, I want to go back to Isha, and then we've got to go to Matthias, and then onward. So Isha, a lot has to do with explanation and making sure you're understood, right?
Yes, and what I've seen with clients is sometimes they're not sure that they are understood. Sometimes they've said something in a way that they think is correct, but maybe they've put the stress of the word in a completely wrong place, or maybe they've just substituted so many phonemes that the word simply isn't clear, and it might not just be a word, then maybe the phrase isn't clear. And because people are very polite and people don't want to say, well, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you said. Very often people will smile and nod. I think that's a sort of standard response when we haven't really understood something, but we don't want to correct them or ask clarification. So, with communication, it goes both ways. I think we always need to be clear that we understand what's being said and ask for clarification, not be embarrassed to ask, but also support people who are struggling to work in a second language with appropriate training so that they can cross that bridge. Because I think sometimes we assume that they just don't know how to speak the language clearly. And it's simply because there isn't a lot of emphasis placed on spoken language training in the education system. It's like the missing piece. So, it is possible to train that, but you do have to set aside the time, invest in the training, and say to your international employees, this support is available for you, and it's going to help the whole team. It'll help everyone know that we're on the same page when we understand what's being said and you feel confident to speak up in meetings and so on. I hope that answers your question, Edwin.
Yeah, thank you. Matthias, 1 second. Stephen Howard, all of this, what we're talking about, creates a harmony, right?
Most definitely. And it does two things. It reduces conflict and drama in the workplace or in your personal life, which leads to harmony, but it also just creates that harmonized mental attitude that you're in a better place, and therefore you can bring the best of you into the workplace.
Matthias.
I totally agree, and I would like to put the focus or to focus your perspective also on the employer. I think in Germany we got a big support by the government in general, so you can go there and have some counseling sessions and all the stuff like that. That sounds phenomenal all over the world. I think we are kind of leading there, but all these little counseling institutes got only a very little budget. So if you go there, normally you have to go there by the central station, right behind down in the basement somewhere, really gray and not very fancy. And I think the employer has also can be a role model on that point to say, okay, we know there are mental health issues, and we got a program of EAP and that supports you. So don't feel like an alien if you just contact them. And that's a big point to me, just to talk about. It's not a negative side to have these things. It means also to be professional and have a long-term relationship, maybe with your employer or also with your employees, because that's the same I got. Me as an individual, I got also a long-term relationship with myself. So I have to pay attention to my mental health. That's necessary.
So Chris, what about your mental health dealing with all this danger and challenge?
Well, I think I told you this about maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I didn't post anything on Friday. As I said, we're I think the largest investor in our town. We're there. When you have 31 people, everybody knows everybody. You're affected. I just came from a business lunch in Madrid. So I was in Krakow yesterday, flew to Madrid this morning. I had business lunch today. You get back, Annalisa and Tori would know this better than I, Matthias, Stephen, you're in one existence in Ukraine. It's very real. And, this isn't for other publication. I'm in this small town where I've never lived there. Yeah, I'm the largest employer, I guess, but the mayor and the people bring me up, and people are just crying around these heroes that have died. The little cafe I go to, as I told you before, 5 of these 30 were her students. How do you deal with that? And then you come into Madrid, Spain, and you get into your old life. You're in a business lunch with I mean, I'm not making a joke about it, but phenomenal wine, and you're dealing with things. I've got board meetings tomorrow, and then Wednesday I fly to Hong Kong, and I've got board meetings there, and I've got a surprise party. Don't tell anyone, but he wouldn't watch this program anyway. But I've got a surprise party for my husband and partner on Sunday. I mean, how do you have a mental health without thinking that you're somehow schizophrenic? I'm not schizophrenic, and I'm not saying anything. Schizophrenia and those mental disorders from which I don't suffer are horrible. I have education from the absolute most incredible schools on planet Earth. You don't leave these things unaffected, but yet to sit there and say that, oh, well, I've got a handle on everything would be idiotic. So Ed, I can't answer your question. I'm still processing it. How do you, on one end, I'm meeting with Ursula von der Leyen, and I'm meeting with the heads of the EU and the US and dealing with reconstruction. On the other end, I'm dealing with women I've never met whose children have died in a small town of Kremenetz. I'm dealing with corporate life. I'm dealing with personal life. I don't know. And I don't think I will know for probably another year.
Well, my friend, I wish you well, and welcome to the couch, Dr. Natalie. Tell us how to handle all this.
And that couch rented from Home Essentials is one of those comfortable couches on planet Earth, by the way. No, but what seriously, what I'm getting at is, I don't want to give you it was like when I was talking to these school kids. I mean, I don't want to give you a trite answer. It's, oh yes, everything's a plan and everything's going to work out. Yes, I'm highly educated, and yes, I've got all these things, but to sit there and say that I know what's going on, I don't think I can. And I think that it's I think what's important in all of this, and like many CEOs, I've never, no matter what we ever say, we've never been, no CEO that I've ever known is a fan of community. Forget what in the F they say out in public. No CEO loves community. They hate the press. They hate shareholders. They hate analysts. They don't like community. They don't even like their own employees. I mean, of course I do, but the rest don't. But it's just, people are problems. In a situation like this, what I've had to confront and accept and embrace, I need some form of community. Those of you that are in coaching or in recruitment, most CEOs are islands. And lonely at the top is bullshit. Most of them are lonely because they want to be lonely, and I did too. But I realized the only way I'm going to get through any of this with any productive outcome is actually drop the castle facade and be part of some form of community so that I can actually feel.
Well said, my friend. Dr. Natalie?
I love that. And I was just, while you were talking, I was just trying to figure out how many things are going on in everybody's head right now who's currently present here. Because we're here, we're trying to share. There's probably stuff going on in the back that nobody else sees. Maybe there's a family member who needs it. So we're all like that. And so then there is still showing up. And I think Chris is absolutely right. There is no one pill. I'm a big proponent of there is not one way. Everybody is an individual. Now we can offer something, and there are workshops that will help some people, but everybody's going to take something else out of it. So group workshops are great sometimes, but the biggest problem with them, and I said but on purpose, the biggest problem with those is that you need to trust everybody in the room. If you don't trust them, you can forget about the workshop anyhow, because they won't talk about what is really going on. And so I think that is absolutely crucial to remember. We need to trust each other. And when Gary was speaking earlier about, the one CEO, that is what it is, really being involved on the one hand, and then say, no, you don't fit, you don't fit. And yes, I believe, I don't know about anybody else here, but I'm an introvert. Somebody told me I'm not, I'm actually an ambivert. but I like my alone time. I need my alone time. So in many ways, some people look at me and say, well, you're an island, as Chris was just saying. I need to withdraw from people. And I think we all need to do that if we want to keep our balance. And therefore, we need to allow CEOs that, we need to allow bartenders to do this, and we need to allow anybody who works in any kind of way, including school pupils, students right now, because they're under a lot of stress as well. But I do see that Annalisa also wants to say something. So I'll
Annalisa.
Okay, thank you. Yes, someone had that. So I agree with what Natalie said about alone time. Before Natalie spoke, I was thinking, Chris, you've talked about community and your need for community and that realization. And maybe that is a newfound value, a core value that has evolved, okay, that your journey here has informed that evolution of your values, and maybe your values are now shifting and changing, and that might be causing some kind of confusion in you as well, and almost like the rug is shifting under your feet a little bit. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you can, spend some time in silence on your own, trying to connect with those things that are important to you now, and identify what is important to you, that your values, that, you know, what your values are now today, and see if then they can point you and help you to navigate and negotiate the situation that you're in, and help to inform your well-being as well. And if you want any help with that, I'm here, and I'd be more than happy to gift you a coaching session on that to help you.
Thank you. You know, I think basically we all know what our values are. I mean, you reach a level like the 9 of us here. We all know what our values are. It's, are we willing to apply them? The 10 of us, you know, and I can make the simple answer like, well, you know, from the guitar suite, you know, Bottle of Margaux will allow me to reconnect with my alone time. But the basic thing is, are you willing to allow yourself to be truly approachable? Now, I preach this to staff and business schools all over the world, but in this small town, am I willing to be approachable? Let people know who you really are. Because only if you're approachable will people share themselves with you. There's no community that makes any difference. There's no community at all if people don't know you and trust you, and they're not willing to know and trust themselves. And so, yeah, Annalisa, I mean, I appreciate that. And yes, I'd love to talk with you offline, but I mean, I know what my values are. I know what the visions are. I know what they are. Are we able to make the decisions to go forward in that, not for our own self-improvement? I mean, seriously, does that step actually have not a deleterious, but a consequential impact on the communities that we have elected by our own decisions to continue working? Caveat, I work only because I want to work. I don't have to work. I could sit at home tomorrow. I don't have to do anything. So I've made a conscious decision to work. Now, if that decision is to work, then I have a responsibility for those with whom I interact, stakeholders, employees, whomever, community. And so what is that responsibility? And that's really the essence of well-being. Well-being is not about me. This isn't about me. It's about how are we as an individual engaging in a community, improving the lot of those with whom we interact.
I want to welcome you all to be my one-on-one guest someday. because you all have so much to say with such clarity and such enthusiasm. It's going to take much more time than what we have today. Stephen, I know you have a time constraint. All of this is, I think, food for your next book, but that's up to you. I know you've already done 22, so.
Well, I'm going to have Natalie write a book called Well-Being with the BE capitalized. It's a great concept. If you need help, I'll help you there. I got to run. I got a coaching call in less than 10 minutes. But my last thoughts of everybody, and this may be more United States. I would love if I had time to hear from Matthias and others globally. I have personally been getting the people I coach to start talking in language terms about mental well-being instead about mental health issues. And that's only because in the United States, and particularly in the workplace, mental health has a stigma to it. And, you know, there's only 9 of us who can try and change the world and change people's thoughts about that phrase. But I just leave that thought with you. I don't know if it'll help or not in the places where you're all making a contribution and making a difference. But I just share that with the people I've been coaching, that it has been working in the last 12 months or so, focusing on mental well-being in the workplace rather than talking about mental health issues. So thank you guys. I love the conversation. I've got some great notes, and I might turn this into a book one day. We'll see.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. My
So
pleasure.
Matthias and Dave Levine and Rena and Isha and everybody. So Matthias, let's go first to you. There's so much to take away from this conversation today. First and foremost is the idea that we've all related something personal, and rather than just strut our stuff about business, I've learned so much. So Matthias, is this normal in a German business setting?
Well, what is a normal German business setting? But I think in Germany we are much more conservative. So we normally don't talk about mental health issues or mental well-being a little bit more, but it's not really common sense in German business areas, unfortunately. So what I heard today is I think there's a long way to go also in Germany.
Yeah, so is this because it's a male-oriented society?
Yes, I think so. Female are coming up more and more. That's very, very good. And I think the biggest point is that we are kind of successful. I don't mean to other countries or anything like that, but in Germany, we as ourselves, like the way we are going, we are kind of successful. You know, so if we are getting more unsuccessful, we have to think about why and how, what can make the change. But in that way, we are successful. There's no need to change, or no big need, unfortunately.
Dr. Natalie, I can see you chomping at the bit to say something. So the microphone is yours.
Well, I sort of agree with Matthias, but on the other hand, I also think it's not just men versus women. And I know that's not what you were saying at all. I think in Germany, there's more of a differentiation of I'm at work and I'm at home. And those borders are beginning to break more open right now. But in general, it was, you know, I'm at work. These are the work people. This is my home. This is where I'm. So it was never connected. Now we're beginning to connect it because everything is more international. I also think that in general, especially in Germany, you know, we think a lot of dark. We're always dark people. We've got all of the philosophers, you know, and the psychiatrists to help us with that. But it's that I think there's more of an understanding that we all go through stuff and we deal with it outside of work usually. You know, but I do think because of the international perspective that is shifting. My big fear is that with that, from what I've seen in the US, that then everybody wants it, and it's almost like no longer as valued as it is, and that people get more worried about using it because now we might attach a stigma to it. I'm worried that we're going to go in that direction.
Dave Levine.
Yeah, I want to go back to Chris for a moment. That shifting rug underneath your feet that Annalisa spoke of. Where was that rug from, Chris?
What do you mean, Rob?
No, it's a long way to go for a joke. You were to chime in. It was a missed opportunity. It was from Home Essentials.
Okay, yeah, because
So-
we make beautiful rugs, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a magic carpet.
No. Actually, Dave, thank you. Yeah, we actually are one of the great producers of customized rugs, and it's one of the things. It actually, not just CEO, but for the interior designer in me, it's the thing I enjoy most is making customized rugs for people all over the world, which probably is not a market segment in Ukraine. But and Dave, please carry on, because the rug shifting under your feet is you're dealing with bamboo silk and customized rugs with 520 colors to a place where people are just, where do we buy apples, and how do we replace this loss in our life? And from a mental well-being standpoint, how do you bridge that divide? Like I was saying earlier, how do you bridge the divide of being at a memorial service for 31 heroes, and that afternoon planning a surprise party in arguably the wealthiest neighborhood on planet Earth? You can't deal with that. You do, and you go forward. And I'm here in Madrid and functioning, and I'm board meetings and all that other stuff. But as how do we grapple with things that are beyond our control, and yet still try to keep control of the things that we feel are so important in our lives, our family and friends and care projects?
Mm-hmm.
You should. Oh, yes, go ahead, Dave.
If I may finish up beyond the attempt at a joke, to try and bridge what Chris and Matthias were saying, we've got these traditional institutions of support, social institution, church, school, family, government, and they are waning in the traditional roles they've played in social support. And work, the institution of work, has sort of risen as the influence of some of those other institutions have declined. And I think Chris's intervention in Ukraine, bringing more community, also economic strength, but community and relationships and mental health and mental well-being to that community is what EAP or workplace-based well-being is about. I think it's utilizing that institution of work not solely for economic gain, but for that sense of community too.
Isha, I thank you so much for being with us. I want to give the microphone to you. I know you have other things to do. So we've really enjoyed conversations with you the past 2 or 3 times, and I'd like you to give somewhat of a perspective summary as we go forward.
Well, we've really been here to talk about mental wellness, and it's a very broad topic. I would just say don't overlook language. I think it's not the obvious place we go to when we're thinking about employee wellness and so on. But, work is becoming more and more global. We're sitting here in a Zoom meeting from all over the world, and we're all very happy and fluent conversing in English. But supposing there was somebody here who had a very strong accent, was speaking in English as a second or third language and was struggling, we might secretly be thinking, oh, we don't understand them or something like that. And we need to be thinking more about how we can support people, given that English is not going to go away as a lingua franca, it's probably going to increase. How can we support people so that they feel, equal players in a meeting like this or any international meeting?
Rena, so what do you think about all this? This sort of is coming right back full circle to you, Rena.
So I'm having some kind of a connect to what Chris is dealing with the situation with respect to Ukraine. And that's on a macro level, Chris, honestly, and I definitely can have some kind of a connect, but that was a situation that even I went through, not with Ukraine, especially this was during COVID. And I come from India, and we had a lot of, you can say, employees who were just like getting infected left, right, center. And myself being into this kind of a, you can say, profession, I am a mobility specialist. I had to evacuate people from all sides into India and reverse evacuate people from India from wherever these assignees were coming. And honestly, what role you are playing right now is like an angel who is not aware of what to do and what to advise. And honestly, I had been in this situation myself. I had my family infected, the whole of my family infected. I even had death in my family. And at the same time, my mental well-being was completely derailed. And I had to even deal with situation with assignees close to about, like, I evacuated 568 people. And out of which, like, I had to play a role of an angel, saying that I never knew where the people will go. I never knew, okay, what will be the country-wise restrictions on these people, and what are the travel restrictions, what would be the guidelines, and I had to just act as if, like, candidly act upon all those kind of questions and everything coming back to me, saying that, okay, I had to give that kind of a convincing note to each and every employee, saying that, oh, you're going to be all fine. But myself, I was not sure of that, what is going to be all fine when I'm dealing with the situation. So I really get that connect, Chris, and something I'm opening up for the larger group also. When employees put in a request for a leave, we at times say, oh, hey, I'm having fever. Hey, I broke my leg. But sometimes a weird thing that comes to my mind is, hey, I'm not mentally feeling well. Can I take a leave? I never saw people writing this way or giving an excuse to their leaders that, okay, I'm dealing with a situation at home. At the same time, I'm dealing with a situation, evacuating people everywhere. And I was breathless, honestly. My heart was always in my mouth, staying awake, understanding if my people are coming safely back at the airport, where are they getting quarantined? Oh, no ways. It was a chaotic situation. But sometimes I really felt giving a hey to my leaders, or sometimes saying, oh, I'm somewhere feeling mentally unwell. So I had never had that kind of a, you can say, option. And I had to work around. So this is what I'm getting that connect with Chris when he says I'm dealing with a situation there. I'm having empathizing with people, but at the same time, I don't know what to react with. And at different times, suddenly the page of the life changes and you have to act as a CEO in the company. At the same time, you have to empathize with the employees and you are somewhere balancing yourself also. So that's something that I feel there should be a option to people saying that, hey, I'm mentally unwell today and I'm taking a leave, maybe a play card or something that I will emphasize on.
Annalisa, this is a value, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was going to say, yes, we've heard some great
Sorry, I'm
values here
emotionally
today.
carried away, but I had that situation, and that's where I'm connecting with Chris, that, okay, he's playing a multifold role. He's acting at different times. He's acting differently. Somewhere a warrior, somewhere a hero, somewhere a parent, somewhere a family member, a husband. Oh, it's not so easy. So sometimes you lose balance. You tend to lose balance. And where is the option in the working world saying that, hey, you're allowed to take a leave, mentioning and disclosing to people, I am mentally unwell today. I want to take a leave. That's not an option here.
Yeah. Empathy. We've heard about integrity. We've heard about authenticity. I'd just like to pick up on what Chris said about everybody knows their core values. I would challenge that assertion because in my experience, not everybody does. If I were to ask everybody here, could you with all confidence tell me your core values, your 5 core values? Could you do it? And absolutely with confidence say that they were, that they are your core values. How many people could do that? Okay. So, but not everybody. Oh, am I still here?
Yes.
Sorry, I pressed something there and I ended up on LinkedIn for some reason. In my experience, not everybody does. Some people think they do, but when I actually start working with them, they discovered that what they thought were their core values were not their core values, and they're really surprised. And they ended up swapping, if not all of them out, then at least 2 or 3 of them out. Some people pick values they think they should have, maybe aspirational values or values that they think, I should quote honesty, I should quote integrity. But when I start to coach them on those values, again, they discover they're not their core values. And some people don't know their values at all. So you might know your values, Chris, and everybody else here who's put their hand up, because like me, you've been on a journey. You've been on a journey that's informed your values. You've spent time examining and exploring your values, and you know what your values are. But believe me, that does not go for everybody. It really doesn't. And it can be quite profound when I work with people and they discover that their values aren't what they thought they were. And then they get these little light bulb moments of clarity, and they say, and the veil starts to drop from their eyes, and they start to realize that that's maybe why there are certain patterns in their lives that keep recurring, that they don't want. And sorry,
let me ask you a
Chris.
question, Annalisa. I mean, how can you be a CEO and not realize that 90% of your time is removing excuses? Sorry, but I mean basically removing excuses on why people can't do the jobs. But seriously, 20-30% of your time is articulating the values and the vision of why this company needs to even exist, and why does anybody care?
In your experience, yes, in your experience, maybe, but that's not everybody's. Okay. You may well do that. And I applaud you. Yeah.
No,
seriously.
I'm not looking for applause. I just don't know how you can lead an organization and not tell the people underneath you where you're going and why anyone should care.
And this is exactly why so many organizations have issues and problems.
Dr. Natalie, I know you have to leave. Do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, just briefly. I mean, I sort of want to say I agree with both of you. But I think what we're seeing is really the evolution of somebody who is being challenged to face all of these different things and has taken the time to think about it. So I'm just going to put it onto Chris that he's actually thinking about these and trying to figure out, okay, where am I going with this? How can I do this? I don't want to go crazy. Okay. And these are all really, really important. The fact that you haven't gone crazy, Chris, I think is a testament to you probably doing a lot of work on yourself. Okay. And I think on the other part, I do also, or at the same time, I agree with Annalisa, most people don't. And that's because they don't take the time. They don't make the time to really get to know themselves. And having dealt with lots of companies, as also Annalisa was saying, why are so many companies failing? Is because there is a disconnect between the CEO, who may need their own time. We all agree with that. But that CEO doesn't even know what's going on 3 floors down and has never met these people. And that's because we've got these huge companies where nobody knows each other. And it's not due to COVID or anything, because there are other companies, whether it's you, Chris, or others, who actually get to meet each other. I was talking to somebody else. He makes sure that once a week in a team meeting, they actually ask how you're doing, not what's your project like. They're asking how you're doing. So there are ways to do it. But I think some companies are doing great in it, others not. And it's a process. So I'm so grateful to you, Chris, that you're bringing this up, because we need to think about it. We need to think about it because, I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, but compared to seeing people die, I'm pretty fortunate right now. It hasn't happened. I mean, in other instances, yes, but not here. Okay, that's why I left the US, because that was just too much craziness. But, it's like, I don't have to deal with it on a daily basis, but I have to compartmentalize. What do I watch on the news? And what do I take in? And what do I discuss with people? And what do I not? I'm very deliberate because my focus is creating peace within me and without. So there are certain things I won't talk about. And I think that's why this is so crucial, and why every time you talk, Chris, I love listening and getting new ideas as well. And I think, you know, some of us are being challenged to figure out which way to go. Thank you.
Well, no, it's not about thanking me. I guess one of the things I've learned, and to Annaliese's point, I mean, as a leader, for the 5 things, the first thing you have to do is you have to have care and compassion. You actually have to care about the people that work for you, not in the bad times when you expect everyone to rally around, but in the real times. Do you know their children? Do you know their grandchildren? Do you know what they're going through? And I also think you have to be approachable. I mean, you know, if you're a leader, most people, I mean, they know your eccentricities. I mean, you know, they know the kind of the weird things about you. So, you know, why not be approachable? And I'm not talking about, hey, as an American, my door is always open. I don't even have a door. No, not that kind of bullshit. It's basically, you know, do people know enough about you, about your eccentricities, that they're comfortable coming up to you? I don't, you know, what you said, Natalie, about 3 floors down is so true. I learn more about my company from the delivery drivers than I ever know from the managers that are wanting to fill my ears all effing day long with things I want to hear. You know, it's like I tell people, you don't know who the CEO of American Airlines is, and you don't care. If the flight attendant or the gate agent are bad to you, you hate the airline. So my delivery drivers, the people that are client facing, not the salesman, the people that actually deliver the product, they'll tell you more what needs to be done with your company than the legions of people that work for me that want to tell me what I want to hear all day, or consultants or accountants. Okay, thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Done.
Thank you.
Done, Ned.
Isha, thank you very much for hanging out with us today. Would you like to sum up?
Thank you. Well, I think I have pretty much said everything. I think that, you know, mental wellness is such a vast field, and, you know, we're learning in the post-pandemic situation more and more about how things affect us that we might not have thought about before, or how workplaces are changing and how remote working is changing us and changing cultures of work. So there are new variables coming into the foreground all the time, and now, of course, war as well. And it's really about our ability to adapt, I think, and even if we can't always foresee challenges, to be able to adapt in the face of them and find the tools that are going to help us survive in whatever is thrown at us next. And I'm trying to be part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Do you guys are the experts in EAP stuff. Dave, the EAP in Asia, I know you're involved there with Mayan and others. What's your perspective from Asia point of view?
Well, thanks for mentioning that. We've got a conference coming up, FYI, at the end of this, at the end of March 29th and 30th in Bangkok. Go to APPEAR, Asia Pacific Employee Assistance Roundtable, appear.org if you're interested. And the European version of that professional association, EAEF, is annual conferences in Luxembourg, June 8th and 9th. There are definitely regional differences, the biggest of which is the frequency of behavioral health offerings, and from where it's reimbursed. And Asia Pacific, to answer your question, I think the biggest difference is the paucity of behavioral health resources. There's stigma everywhere, but where there's not those resources, where there's not reimbursement for those few resources that people might be able to tap into, the EAP sort of becomes that resource, the only resource that the rank and file can get to for behavioral health. I think that's the biggest difference, and EAP is expanding in around the globe, but it's been a harder battle, a bigger challenge for that reason in Asia Pacific, because of the simple lack of behavioral health providers.
Thank you, Tori. I'm sorry you didn't have much more opportunity to speak, but I want you to speak now. And also, everybody, Tori's background is Ukrainian.
Yeah. No problem, Ed. It's really great just to be in the room listening. Honestly, I learned a lot and I've taken a lot of notes. Although my name is Ukrainian, I don't speak the language. I'm not doing any of the work Christopher's doing. But no, it's great to hear what you guys are saying. I think key words here are trust as well. And Christopher, you alluded to, you understand your values, but maybe those managers underneath you who are trying to please you and fill your ear, maybe that's where some of the work that Annalisa can come in with and understand. I think you guys are doing tremendous work, and we don't have to have it all figured out. We're all learning as we go. We're all on the edge of our evolution as a species and as a collective. And sometimes the best thing for us to remember is that, breathing is free, and few things feel better than a deep breath, so you guys, I invite you all right now to just take a deep breath.
I just did. Thank you.
And, that's pretty much the best advice I can give. I learned a lot from all of you today. So thank you.
Tori, thank you for having me in your book. So Matthias, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate your frankness and your ability to give perspective time after time on this program. Our audience numbers are up over the year over year, like 35%, according to Google Analytics. But really, January 1 through yesterday or the day before, it's almost 10,000 audience views, which is like, whoa, I'm feeling that responsibility. And so the idea is, from my point of view, is to have people like you talk more, do more, share more. And so I welcome you back. I'm speechless, Annalisa. Take over.
Okay, so
yeah,
what, seriously?
Yeah, really.
Okay, so I don't know whether you've seen what I've just dropped in the comments, but what Chris is saying, Chris is exemplifying what we call servant-hearted leadership, aka values-based leadership, which is what I actually trained in with the Maxwell Leadership and I'm certified in. So although we might not see things quite the same, we are on the same page, right? And the thing is that that we speak this language, but you try speaking that language to some of the CEOs that I deal with, where I live, and their eyes will glaze over. They have absolutely no idea. Compassion, love their people, want to know their people, like you said. No, they're not interested in that. They're just interested in profit and making as much money as possible for the shareholders. So, Chris, let's educate them. Let's work together and educate them. And
and we can do that through Ed's forum here, and continue dialogue with a diverse range of people that he's been masterfully able to bring about. Well, what I will say is that on the care and compassion, what made me a believer of it is, as I toured the world, because we're in 26 countries, it got around that I won't get into it too much. We've saved 26 children of my employees by paying for their medical care. Now, I don't, I'll never have children. I can't understand that. But what I do understand is when a father or a mother comes to you and says, we don't know what to do. And by me just being a CEO or somebody of means, I can pick up a phone and find a doctor. We've saved 26 children from my staff. That's what care and compassion is. And I don't know how can you get people to buy off on a vision? See what, those 26 people, they'll do anything for our company. You talk about profits. I love profits. I want to make a profit. I'm not a philanthropist. I'm a CEO. I graduated from the greatest business school on planet Earth. I mean, There's no philanthropy there. But yet, if you don't care about the people, if you're not, Tori, if you don't leave your troops on the field to die. Tori, I mean, these people, these are the sons, the fathers, the brothers, of people that are defining a nation. That's what integrity, that's what an organization is about. That's what enduring values are about. That's what 247 years ago, people that fought the American Revolution against a nearly invincible power fought about. Those of us that go around and just want profit for ourselves and for the shareholders of today, that's not an enduring institution. And Ed, thank you for bringing us all together. You've done a masterful job in creating this, and I just see nothing but continued growth and enlargement of the people with whom you can interact.
Oh, I thank you. One of that, I don't know if it's a value, Annalisa, but it's like an energy source for me, because this is not work. Sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning it's work, but during March, coming up next week, with Dr. Lynn Schmidt, I'm partnering with her all month long in a series bringing global women in business leader roles to the show here, a series of broadcasts starting on March 1, ending on March 30. Dr. Lynn Schmidt's an author and a coach, helping primarily women do their thing better in business, but more on that later. Last year, we partnered for the first time during March, International Women's Day. She wanted my audience to talk about her new book. And so we had started calling people to come on the show free. We found sponsors so I could pay some bills, but we had people from Egypt and Jordan and Dubai and Iran on the program, along with Israeli, along with everybody else too. If you want, I'll send you that link so you can take a look at that program. And so we're doing it again all through March. Dave, we're going to do Asia Pacific, of course. I have invited Miriam to be involved, but I haven't heard back from her yet. But we do have people in Tokyo and Manila and Australia lined up. And Chris, do you know Beverly Sun in Hong Kong? SUNN?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've invited her to come back as well.
Well, I've known, yes, I've known Beverly for 30 years. So
yeah. I remember back at the turn of the century at an ERC convention, she and I danced the night away at some, I think it was Vegas or New Orleans or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bev, yeah, I mean, Annalise is now analyzing everything I'm looking at now. Should I do that George W. Bush, that politician? You roll back until you have an answer. You go, oh, Ed, that's a fantastic situation. Beverly, we all know Beverly, blah, blah, blah. So I've already blown it. Beverly was the initial, she's the leader in high-end expatriate relocation to Hong Kong. That business is gone. The business that she created, like so many others, is gone. It's never coming back. Hong Kong as a global marketplace is never coming back. And she did an incredible job of shifting her business. Her son Joshua created the largest actual state agency there underneath her. She's a brilliant woman, but like so many CEOs and so many other people, trapped by a legacy that, this is an industry I invented, so therefore it's never going to change. So will Beverly join your conference? I don't know. I somehow doubt it because it would force her and so many others to confront the shifting realities of the current situation that they cannot change. For a future program, Hong Kong and China, the decoupling from the industrialized nations has occurred. It's not, there's nothing. I mean, I've lived in Hong Kong for 25 plus years. I'm an undergraduate, my major is Chinese history. There's nothing that's going to rejoin China with the industrialized nations. And as Tori can probably confirm, the decision by the central government to allow companies to sell arms and spare parts to Russia as something that defies any comprehension. I can't even fathom. I mean, I've been in Beijing for 30 years. What is going through the minds of the central government that says that we're going to do this, and the implications of this, providing needed technology and arms to Russian manufacturers so they can continue this unprovoked war that has already claimed the lives of 250,000 people in 1 year, is beyond anything I can even fathom. Tori?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm not an expert in any way, but it seems like it's there's a lot of politics happening, and we're realizing how intertwined all of our governments really are with regards to our resources. I mean, Canada at the moment, and Canada is definitely weaved itself a web that it's hard to get out of with regards to oil and gas and everything. So it's very complicated, but to your point, we just need better leadership, and we need people to be making decisions that we can no longer be supporting these kind of activities. So it's going to require courage on a lot of fronts from all of our country's leaders, I think.
I'm speechless again. Matthias, thanks very much for being there. Tori, thank you. Annalisa, it's been great. Chris, stay safe. Dave, let's talk more about Asia Pacific at another time. And we have somebody entering our room here. Hold on.
I've got to leave, and I've got another meeting, but thank you so much, everyone.
Me as well.
I love these
Yeah,
talks.
I have to go. Unfortunately, I was just typing it into the chat, but
Yes,
you take care, Chris. Okay, and I meant what I said.
Yes, thank you.
We'll talk soon. Thanks.
Yeah, look forward to it. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Edwin.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Alessandro, hello.
Hi, I'm a bit late, am I?
Yeah, you are, but there's still you and me here. So I thank you. Where are you from?
I'm in London. I'm Italian originally, though.
Yeah, okay, welcome. And so what is your occupation, if I may ask? Introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, I teach something called Qigong, which is similar to Tai Chi. So I help people in corporate and, to sort of take their health and energy to the next level with physical health, mental health, emotional. So but I could probably watch the recording, I would think, can I? Or
yes, it'll be ready in about 2 hours or so.
Okay, yeah, and I know, I think I'm connected with Annalisa and Ricardo Sai. We're good friends, so that's the kind of connection, I think.
Oh, good. I'm really happy to meet you, and I welcome you back. All during March, we are doing more of these programs. Actually, all the time, not just March, but it's around the corner, and there's several being planned. And I would welcome you to join the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I was just on another call, and I wasn't sure how long it was going on for. But I think on LinkedIn often it stays on there, doesn't it? If it's live, it was live, wasn't it? And I think it stays on there.
Yes, and it's on our site. It will be globaltvtalkshow.com.
Oh, yeah, I registered earlier, so I'll probably get a notification, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you send me a quick message either through LinkedIn, or my email is publisher@globalbusiness.media, and we can carry on. I thank you very much for dropping by Global TV Talk Show, and well, welcome you during March. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet you. Take care then.
Good to meet you. And thank you all for watching Global TV. Bye-bye.
Bye.